On May 25th, 2023, I walked into court in New Haven Superior Court in New Haven, Connecticut, for what was supposed to be labeled as a hearing on all pending motions. After 2 hours of a hearing, the judge, Jane Cupson Grossman, ordered that my then 4-year-old daughter, Angelina, would immediately have to go from living with me, where she lived for the first 4 years of her life, to immediately go and live with her father and his sons, who she said were sexually abusing her. At that hearing on May 25th, 2023, which you can watch the full hearing on my YT, I was not allowed to be sworn in, I was not allowed to cross-examine, I was not allowed to testify, and I was not allowed to show evidence. The next day, I went back to the court and I filed this, which is an emergency ex parte application for custody of my daughter, Angelina. I'm going to read to you exactly what I wrote in this application. I stated, I am asking that the court order that Angelina not be left alone with or under the care of Dominic Lodice without adult supervision, and while he is the subject of the current open active investigation from the New Britain Police Department, case number 23-014734, and while rape kit DNA testing conducted at Connecticut Children's Medical Center in Hartford is pending, testing results from the state DNA lab. An emergency ex parte order is required because I believe that there is an immediate and present risk of both physical danger and psychological harm to my daughter, Angelina Maria Lodice. My 4-year-old daughter, Angelina, privately disclosed to me on multiple past occasions that she was being sexually abused by her 16-and-a-half-year-old half-brother, Dominic Lodice, during weekend visits that were supposed to be with her father, Matthew Lodice. I reported the statements to my therapist, Lancia Blatchley, from Healing Springs Wellness in October 2022, that Angelina stated that when she was humping her stuffed animals, that the stuffed animals were tickling her, and that she had also been tickled in that way previously by her half-brother Dominic. I recorded these candid statements that were made by Angelina as evidence of what she was stating. Ms. Blatchley stated that as a mandated reporter, she would be mandated to make a report to DCF about the sexual abuse allegations and instructed me to call DCF and make a report myself at the conclusion of our virtual therapy session. She stated that if I did not make a report, that she would make it herself. I told her I would do it, and I called the DCF hotline as soon as our virtual session ended and reported it. DCF and the New Britain Police then immediately opened an investigation at that time, and my prior counsel, Don Cretella, advised me to withhold visitation from Matthew Lodice until further notice due to the allegations. DCF and the New Britain Police also stated that it was in Angelina's best interest to remain with me until further notice at that time. DCF asked me if Don Cretella planned on filing for an emergency ex parte at that time, and Don stated that he would not do so and that he would wait until our next court date, which was the following week. However, Attorney Don Cretella never filed for any ex parte order on my behalf at all and stated that it was unnecessary and that, quote, no judge would ever hold you in contempt for keeping your child safe. On October 31st, 2022, Angelina had a forensic interview at the Yale Child Advocacy Center, during which she was asked only one question: is there anywhere on your body that nobody else is allowed to touch? To which she replied by saying no. The forensic interview was immediately stopped, and the police investigation was immediately closed. I was told that Angelina, quote, did not make a disclosure, and that sexual abuse was, quote, unsubstantiated, because she stated that she had no private parts, and the social worker couldn't ask further questions that could possibly be leading. I then began sending Angelina back for visits, as advised by my counsel. After the forensic interview was conducted on October 31st, 2022 at the Yale Child Advocacy Center by social worker Priscilla M. Westberg, LCSW, she referred Angelina to therapy services. This was documented in her after-visit summary on her My Chart, filed under E-Filed Case Exhibit number 18, and the details of the forensic interview were also documented in the notes in her file under E-Filed Case Exhibit number 19, in which Ms. Westberg indicated that she, quote, recommends that Angelina engage in outpatient mental health treatment. Mother was in agreement and shared that they received a phone call to start treatment at the Yale Child Study Center. I recommend mother follow through with the Yale Child Study outpatient services. I will follow up with mother. I provided mother with my contact information should any questions or concerns arise prior to my next contact. I had previously tried to get therapy services for Angelina in the past, and Matthew Lodise refused to consent to her attending therapy. I received a letter from her pediatrician's office from Allison Pearson, FNP, indicating the medical necessity of Angelina attending therapy. This letter was included in Angelina's medical records filed under e-filed case exhibit number 15 and stated that, quote, Angelina is a patient of our practice. She has been struggling since the separation of her parents. We believe it is in her best interest to see a therapist in order to properly process these feelings. Mental health is extremely important. To maintain optimal wellness, it is necessary that Angelina is to continue going to see a therapist. Even after I provided this letter of medical necessity from the pediatrician to Attorney Cretella, Matthew Lodise still refused to consent to our daughter doing therapy. At that point, Attorney Cretella filed a motion for a GAL to be appointed for Angelina. I previously filed a motion for appointment of a guardian ad litem on July 25th, 2022, 305 days ago, and it was never ruled on. I also filed a motion for a mental examination of Matthew Lodise on that same date, 305 days ago, which was also never ruled on. Matthew Lodise has been in therapy at least 4 separate providers that I know of, and he refused to sign releases for his prior therapists, even after he was court-ordered to sign releases on December 1st, 2022. It has been 176 days since Matthew Lodise was ordered to sign releases for all of his prior mental health treatment providers, and he has still not complied and refuses to sign them, claiming he doesn't remember their names. On October 17th, 2022, after Matthew Lodise continued to refuse to allow Angelina to attend therapy, despite the letter of medical necessity, Attorney Cretella filed his motion for appointment of GAL. It has been 221 days since Attorney Cretella filed his motion for appointment of GAL, and the motion still has never been ruled on. In the last 305 days, both myself and my former counsel filed a total of 2 motions for appointment of GAL, and I also repeatedly demanded that a GAL be appointed for my daughter during the hearing that took place on May 25th, 2023 in New Haven Superior Court, but I was denied that right. My daughter needs representation by someone who will be unbiased and be able to look out for her best interests during this high conflict post-judgment matter. As her mother, I have made sure to maintain the only home she has ever known, in a beautiful neighborhood where she has a nice yard and lots of room to play safely outside with her older sister that she loves dearly. We live only minutes away from my mother, who she loves dearly, and minutes away from our church, where she is baptized as a Greek Orthodox Christian and has been attending and receiving religious sacraments since the age of 9 months old. I also teach Sunday school and had the honor of being her teacher in the pre-K 3 class this past school year. I always have taken Angelina to all of her medical appointments, made sure that she has everything that she needs, and have always advocated for her best interest. I have substantial evidence and numerous witnesses who can testify to this, including teachers, doctors, therapists, religious leaders, lawyers, and friends and family. Angelina and I share an extremely strong bond, and she feels safe and comfortable with me. After the police investigation was closed at the completion of the first forensic interview on October 31st, 2022, I began sending Angelina back for weekend visits with her father at the direction of my counsel. Angelina did not make any other disclosures of sexual abuse, and I did not observe her doing any of the sexual behaviors from the beginning of November 2022 until February 1st, 2023. Follow for part 2.